Sea monsters, land monsters, space monsters, even monsters from another dimension. Today we're taking a look, and you'll have to crane your neck to do it, at the top 10 mega-sized SCPs that could destroy the world. Number 10. SCP-169 The Leviathan. Up first is an SCP of biblical proportions. The Leviathan is an enormous marine arthropod, measuring between 2,000 and 8,000 kilometers in length. That's over 20,000 football fields for reference. Once thought to exist only in myths, the Foundation confirmed the Leviathan's existence during an investigation into potential paranormal activity. Very little is known about the creature's habits, its food source, or whether it might nest. It moves slowly, drifting through the water at a rate of less than 1 kilometer a week, and its breath causes seismic tremors every 3 months that shift the terrain of the islands around it. The creature is currently believed to be dormant, but if it ever wakes up, there isn't a ship in existence that could stand up to the sheer size of the thing. Hopefully it remains sleeping for a long, long time. The Foundation is doing its part to keep people away from the area where it was discovered, and to stave off the probable apocalypse that could ensue if it were to be disturbed. If its slumbering breaths can shift the terrain of islands, imagine its roar. Imagine its bite. Best to let sleeping leviathans lie. But while the Leviathan's motives are currently unknown, there is one giant beast that we know for a fact thinks that humanity is disgusting. Number 9. SCP-682 The Hard-to-Destroy Reptile. SCP-682 is one of the most infamous anomalies that the Foundation has ever managed to contain. It has earned that infamy with a combination of high intelligence, deep hatred for all living things, incredible speed, strength, reflexes, and of course, its apparent invulnerability. SCP-682 is able to regenerate from everything the Foundation throws at it, from bombs to other deadly anomalies, including SCP-096. Even when 87% of its body has been destroyed or rotted, SCP-682 is still capable of moving, speaking, and attacking. Though it's not the largest anomaly on this list, it's one of the most committed to bringing about the doom of all living things. SCP-682 has attempted to escape 17 times and has been successful 6 times. We shudder to think what might happen if it ever managed to evade the Foundation once and for all. Because of its highly adaptable nature, it can be subject to a massive size increase. Part of the reason they've never tried to nuke the beast is the fear it will go full Godzilla mode in response. Some giant monsters attack out of hatred, others just have an insatiable appetite for human flesh. Number 8. SCP-2863 The Starving Skeletons. Like the Leviathan, SCP-2863 was once thought to be a myth. The Starving Skeletons, also known as Gashadokuru, have appeared in Japanese folktales for centuries, but the legend is all too real. The Starving Skeletons stand at a towering height of 30 meters, far too big to ever outrun. Whenever they appear, they seem to have only one goal in mind: chasing down humans and eating them alive. They move quickly, quietly, and in the darkness, like perfect predators. The only sign that one is after you is the faint sound of rattling bones. But even if you hear it, it likely won't do you any good. The Foundation is discovering more and more instances of SCP-2863 all the time. And as their population grows, so does the amount of prey they need to hunt. If their numbers grow large enough, humanity won't stand a chance against these skeletal apex predators. From hunters hiding in the shadows to horrors lurking in the deep, dark ocean. Next, we have number 7, SCP-3000 Anantashesha. We've already covered one sea monster on this list. What's so special about another one? What's so scary about a giant eel? Other than the obvious fact that it's a giant eel. Well, this is one giant eel that possesses a unique threat to humanity and to life as we know it. This monster doesn't just devour human flesh, it devours memory itself. Oh, and if that doesn't make you nervous, it also may in fact be an old god of unfathomable ancient power. Spending a prolonged amount of time in its presence results in a loss of memory and the erosion of the very sense of self. It excretes a potent substance that is used by the Foundation to manufacture its amnestics, but a power like this cannot be contained. SCP-3000 is between 600 and 900 kilometers long. or somewhere between 372 and 559 miles. Its gaping maw is filled with knife-like teeth, able to tear through flesh and metal alike. It spends most of its time dormant, sleeping along the bottom of the sea, but its cognitohazardous properties still persist even when it slumbers. Over time, it triggers memory loss, paranoia, and intense degradation of one's mental state. Sure, it's dormant at the bottom of the ocean, for now. What happens if it wakes up? What happens if one day the beast comes ashore? So much of the ocean is still unexplored, but there is another place that remains largely unexplored, where untold horrors can lurk: space. Number 6. SCP-1682 The Sun Eater. SCP-1682 is an enormous worm-like entity that lives in the source of all light and life on this Earth, the Sun. It measures about 28,075 kilometers in length and appears to feed on solar energy somehow. In 2011, SCP-1682 left the surface of the Sun, which made most of the researchers relieved. However, researcher Breen had the feeling something awful had just happened. He was right. Research into SCP-028 revealed the existence of comets serving as the eggs for cosmic tapeworms, one of which lives in the Sun. Supposedly, it returns every 76 years, 4 months, and 2 weeks after feeding. Who knows how many eggs it has laid on the surface of the Sun, and who knows what will happen when they all hatch. SCP-1682, the giant solar worm, may be the reason the Sun goes dark. Not all giant monsters mean to harm us. Some strive to protect us. But what happens when we lose their protection, and the evils they tried to beat back are free to do as they please? Number 5. SCP-3700 Tides of War. SCP-3700 is actually not a monster, but rather a circular area in the North Sea where 2 monsters are locked in eternal combat. SCP-3700-1 is an arthropod, 6 kilometers in length, with a mix of green, blue, yellow, pink, and red pigmentation. Its markings resemble the shape of a woman's face. It has 4 compound eyes attached to stalks, and a heavily damaged carapace with a large amount of scarring, cracking, and small holes left behind by previous battles. It is able to project concentrated blasts of gamma radiation, to disperse storms at will, and to increase the rates of erosion on nearby landmasses. This creature is not a threat to humans. It has only one enemy: SCP-3700-2. SCP-3700-2 is a 32-kilometer-long creature that bears strong resemblance to the pelican eel. Unlike ordinary pelican eels, however, it has 13 appendages encircling the middle section of its body. These resemble the tentacles of an octopus. The creature is capable of triggering storms in its vicinity with an intensity that exceeds that of Category 5 hurricanes. It generates whirlpools in the water that it can use to pull vessels toward it, and is capable of regurgitating instances of SCP-3456. SCP-3700-1 has been able to subdue it and prevent it from causing excessive damage to humanity, but without its nemesis to keep it in check, SCP-3700-2 could sink untold ships, bring storms to every shore, and devour us all. Once again, we travel from the ocean depths to the vast expanse of space, both home to monsters alien and unknown. Number 4. SCP-1548-EX, the Hateful Star. We've covered an SCP that lives inside of a star, but what about an SCP that is a star? SCP-1548-EX, also known as the Hateful Star, was first discovered at the Yerkes Observatory in Chicago in 1949. At this time, it was located 24 light-years away from Earth. At first, it was assumed to be an ordinary star, but over time it was revealed that it would periodically release bursts of radiation. From the radiation bursts, waves could be picked up by radio, and these radio waves could be interpreted via Morse code. When translated, it was discovered that SCP-1548 was sentient, and was sending messages detailing its desire to kill, to destroy, and to humiliate the human race. The celestial body moves erratically, changing its orientation without any apparent order. It rotates quickly and randomly as it emits the pulses of radiation by which it communicates. The radiation produced by SCP-1548-EX is potentially incredibly dangerous to Earth, as it could decimate portions of the planet's atmosphere, including the ozone layer, and expose all life on the planet's surface to ionizing radiation from space and the sun. Eventually, the star was supposedly revealed to be non-anomalous, but its radiation still poses a threat to Earth's ecosystems and all life on the planet. If SCP-1548-EX ever were to approach close enough to hit us with one of its pulses, or if a similar star were to do the same, there would be nothing that we could do. Ecosystems would collapse, and life as we know it would be destroyed. There are many horrors to be found throughout our universe, but there are even more horrors that lie beyond, in universes parallel to our own. Thankfully, those universes are usually kept separate from ours. That is, unless someone were to open the wrong door. Number 3. SCP-2317, A Door to Another World. SCP-2317 is simple enough at first glance. It is a door that leads to another world, but as is often the case with SCPs, all is not what it seems. For example, it is contained using reinforced steel and armed guards. Each month, a Class D personnel with a background as a convicted murderer is assigned to the anomaly. Why? Because on the other side of the door is something that could bring about an XK Class end-of-the-world event. The other world beyond that door is a salt plane, and within that salt plane lies humanity's doom. There is an entity in this other world, the Devourer of Worlds. It cannot be truly contained. It can only be temporarily chained in this other world for the time being. Every time one of its chains breaks, a catastrophe befalls humanity. One day it will break free and devour our world. The extent of its exact powers is unknown, but it is immortal, evil, and driven by endless hunger. As far as appearances goes, the Devourer of Worlds is a massive humanoid, standing about 200 kilometers tall and covered in overlapping plate-like scales. It has no lower jaw and has horns that resemble tree branches. In event of its escape, the SCP Foundation plans to detonate a nuclear bomb. Better to go out on our own terms than be swallowed whole by the Devourer. We should all cross our fingers that the door to another world remains closed. We have plenty of monsters to worry about here in this world. For example, the sleeping giants stretched beneath the landscape of Greenland and the mysterious sickness it spreads. Number 2. SCP-722 Jörmungandr. SCP-722 was first found in the eastern glacial ranges of Greenland, where Greenpeace activists were filming a documentary on the impact of global warming. Down in a network of tunnels, within the Kanderluskeler Glacier, they discovered an enormous reptilian body. Within hours of exposure to this mystery beast, the team became extremely ill. Their lymph nodes swelled and their skin began to necrotize. By the time the sun set, the team was dead. The exact size of SCP-722 is unknown, as its body is coiled through an extensive series of tunnels, and many parts of its body are embedded in the ice of the glacier itself. The skin of SCP-722 excretes an unidentified toxin that produces seemingly random but deadly symptoms in anyone exposed to it. This toxin has been compared to the toxin produced by the Komodo dragon, which it used as a weapon to subdue its prey. Expedition into the glacier has been expressly forbidden by the SCP Foundation, after the entity saw a 0.9% increase in brain activity. This is understandably cause for alarm. If the sleeping serpent wakes and rises from beneath the earth, it may very well bring about its destruction. Best to do as we've done with all of the sleeping giants on this list, and let it slumber for as long as we possibly can. We've covered a lot of terrifying entities so far, but there is one being that the SCP Foundation has encountered that is more monstrous, more destructive, more potentially apocalyptic than all the others. He was there when the world was born, and will be there when all life is snuffed out, sitting upon his wicked throne. That's right, we're capping off this list with Number 1, SCP-001, The Scarlet King. The Scarlet King is an evil ancient god with a voice like a swarm of 1 billion insects. Other anomalies on this list are enormous, sure, but they are also simple enough to comprehend. A giant skeleton that eats people, a massive eel, a poison lizard. But the Scarlet King is so much more than that. A being that is both corporeal and incorporeal, a monster and an idea. In the words of Depeche Sipsak, who once led the cult of the Children of the Scarlet King. The Scarlet King used to be something very different. He wasn't a monarch, and he wasn't always red. He was the whisper on the wind that kept the peasants working, staring up in fear of his righteous famine. He was that inborn knowledge of a world of gods and demons which bellied human agency and existed beyond us. He was the cold hunger of a famine that had no rhyme and reason but the cold apathy of a supernatural beyond us, and given enough belief, he could be the devourer too. He is a creature of truth. When the Scarlet King became real, solidified into truth by the SCP Foundation's cataloging of him, the landscape of history was altered. He was an elder god, born from the darkness when the Tree of Knowledge was planted. He devoured each of his siblings, growing larger and more powerful with each life he took. Above all things, he swore to destroy the Tree of Knowledge and doom all of existence. We can't know exactly what the Scarlet King looks like, or at least we shouldn't. If we are ever able to confirm the precise appearance of the Scarlet King, that will mean that all is lost, and he is here with us. We do know a few things about him for certain. He is a red creature of immense size, wearing a crown upon his head. What matters less than the Scarlet King's appearance is his meaning and his aim. He seeks the destruction of it all, not out of appetite that needs to be satiated, or out of a simple instinct to destroy, but because it is his most fundamental purpose. When the Scarlet King is reborn, and trusts that it is only a matter of time, he will see all plunged into darkness, all life snuffed out like a candle in a hurricane. And yes, he will destroy your world. He will destroy us all. Now go check out SCP-6448, The Not Deer Stalks You, or SCP-1128, The Aquatic Horror, for more.